Good morning, everyone. We are live here on Garage Cam at Darlington Raceway, one of the most beautiful tracks and most fun tracks to go to on the circuit. So welcome to Garage Cam. It's my first time hosting, so bear with us. I'm filling in for the great Matt Dillner. We hope he's back with us soon. We'll try to do him justice as we take you through the garage, show you some behind-the-scenes things. What you're looking at right now is Tony Stewart, Smoke's car. He's about to go through the laser inspection. That's a new thing they have this year in NASCAR, where they're using lasers to measure and make sure everything is in the right. And Tony Stewart, obviously three-time champion, great race car driver. One of the few tracks he's never won at is this one here at Darlington. And Smoke not having the year we're used to out of him, but as we say with Smoke, he's always better in the summer. So I think his time is coming this year, and maybe he'll get his first win ever this weekend at Darlington under the lights tomorrow night. But again, you're looking at the laser inspection, Greg Biffle's car, going through it right now. We're at one end of the garage over here. Remind everyone we got the chat going too. Tigra was the first one in the chat this morning, so we thank her for being the first one in the chat. And we want to hear your questions, want to get your requests and answer anything we can. So please join us. Taking a look at the Ford of Casey Mears right there, who is pitted and parked next to Tony Stewart in the garage this week. Moving on down, we have Juan Pablo Montoya. 2 weeks ago, that Richmond race was so close for those guys. Never had an oval win, but he almost did it 2 weeks ago in Richmond. If it wasn't for that caution that fell at the end, he probably would have been in victory lane. Great run they're having this year for the Ganassi guys, him and his teammate Jamie McMurray. And now we're looking at last week's winner and a bright, bright paint scheme, two-tone green thing going on for David Reagan. What a victory lane that was. No one expected David Reagan. He says he had a chance last week. He thought he had a chance, but I think even he was a little surprised to be in victory lane last week in Talladega. And just to see him and his teammate push up to the front in that last restart after a long day in Talladega, it was just something special to see. They were so happy at Front Row Motorsports. It was just a great run for those guys. Moving over to Danica Patrick here, the number 10 GoDaddy Chevrolet. She still has the rookie stripe on her car, of course. She is a rookie this year, but she was in this race last year. Definite learning experience like it is for anybody coming to coming to Darlington for the first time. So hopefully she can use some of that experience and make her way around here and get a good finish for her team and those Rookie of the Year points. Moving on, this is Bobby Labonte's car. Just celebrated his 700th career start in NASCAR. I remember way back, 1993. It was Jeff Gordon, Bobby Labonte, and Kenny Wallace all came in as rookies together. 700 starts later, Bobby Labonte still going in this Bush's Baked Beans car, number 47. Not having the best year, but you know, former champion, keep on going. Single car team, maybe that'll be the next single car team to win in NASCAR. Here's David Gilliland, who finished second last week at Talladega, helped push his teammate all the way to the front to get that win. A 1-2 finish for Front Row Motorsports. Front Row Motorsports finishing on the front row. Again, just a great story to see David Gilliland and David Reagan as teammates, happy guys in the media center. They had their families in there. You could just tell it's a win they'll cherish for the rest of their lives, really. And it was a finish that was something good for them, but even better for the organization and any of those small organizations in NASCAR. Another one here, another small team, Tommy Baldwin Racing and Dave Blaney in that number 7 ride. Maybe this will be the next single car team or small team to win in NASCAR. Certainly got a lot of brains behind it, and Tommy Baldwin, Dave Blaney, veteran driver. No telling what he might be able to do. Taking a look, we got a question from Slice Smoke 14, wants to see David Stremme. And look, that's who we got right here. Beautiful looking car, number 30, Swan Racing car. It really sticks out. New team this year, started in Daytona with Michael Waltrip, but David Stremme is part of that, taking the reins over since then, doing as well as they can. Again, we're in the part of the garage where there's a lot of smaller teams that, you know, may struggle on the track each week, but after seeing what's possible last week with Front Row Motorsports, I think it puts a step in all of these teams to keep on going and keep on moving, because you never know what could happen. The 83 car, BK Racing, here's Landon Castle in the 33. As we move in, you can see teams are prepping. They're all prepping for practice right now. That's usually when we do Garage Cam, right before they go out for the first practice of the day. And this is a full day for these teams. They got to come in, they got to set up, practice, qualify for the race tomorrow. And it can be tough only because, they race tomorrow night. And when they're practicing during the day, you wonder how much of that data kind of crosses over, but this is how the schedule goes, and this is how they prepare each day. Timmy Hill joining us in Darlington this week. Sometimes his 32 car is driven by former Cup champion Terry Labonte, but Timmy Hill, good young racer in that car this week. And continue to move on down. You can hear the roar of some of those engines. It gets a little loud down here. First rule, if you ever come to a NASCAR race, especially in the garage, is the first thing you do is buy earplugs, because man, do you need them. That's Joe Nemechek's car. That's got the engine fired up. Front row Joe, running with his 87 team. Moving on down the line, that's Scott Speed in the 95. He had a good finish last week in Daytona. I believe he had a top 10 if I'm not mistaken. He was right up front toward the end in that final restart. And again, another small team that had good luck and good fortune, and was the right place at the right time last weekend in Talladega. And you never know what could happen, especially at those plate races. Looking at the number 98 of Michael McDowell. And moving on to the last car. Here in the stall is Mike Bliss. Only 43 cars on the entry list this week, so all these cars are going to make it. No one has to worry about going home. So, a lot of expense and time and money goes into getting these cars here, and you want to make the race, have to qualify. Some weeks, not every car gets to make the race, so you have to be fast in qualifying. This week, everyone will make a qualifying lap, and everyone, according to the list here, will make it. So now we've reached one end of the garage stall. What we just did was we basically went from turn 4, now we're almost in turn 1, and we're going to make our own turn here in the garage. What you're going through is the other inspection process here. This is where they fit the templates on the car. On the other side was the laser process. This is where they put these big cages right on the front of the car to make sure they all line up and that all the noses, bodies, and everything is up to par and everything's legal. Very technical. You can see the 3 different noses for the 3 different manufacturers. It can be a lengthy process. Teams back up sometimes because if they don't get through that first time, they have to fix it and they have to pass inspection before they hit that track. So now we're on the other side. This is Marcus Ambrose's ride, the Ford here. Teams checking it out. You can see, you may be able to see teams looking at the laptop. They get a lot of data now. This isn't like the old days where there were no computers involved. And let me interrupt to tell you, Cordy Tillenday, he wants to see the Outlaw. Kurt Busch right there. Kurt Busch, that team has had some really fast cars the last few weeks. In Richmond, he was fast last week in Talladega. Of course, we know what happened to him in Talladega. He ended up flipping over, and it was scary to look at, but Kurt Busch is okay. And how could you forget, this 78 team won here in in Darlington a few years ago with Regan Smith. Again, a small team. It's got an affiliation with RCR, but this is another small team that's won a race before. It's always a good story in the garage when something like that happens. You have a talented guy like Kurt Busch behind the wheel. It could happen again this weekend. Moving on down, getting the RCR car of Jeff Burton, number 31. Again, all these teams are prepping for practice because that time is precious to them. They have to get out there, put a good qualifying lap down, and make sure they only get limited time to do so. Taking a look at Ryan Newman's car, he was another guy who was running well at the end of the Talladega race, but ended up having Kurt Busch fall on top of him. And again, what was a scary looking wreck. Ryan Newman not happy after that wreck, but it was a run that was going well until it wasn't. So hopefully better luck for him this week here in Darlington. And now we're moving on. Veronica Allhouse says she would love to see the FedEx number 11 of Denny Hamlin. I can do half of that for you, Veronica, because it's not the FedEx car this week. It's the Sports Clips Haircuts car for Denny Hamlin. Great big story here because Denny Hamlin is back full time for the first time in about 5 weeks. Remember, Denny Hamlin was injured in a bad wreck at the end of that California race. He was able to get back in the car last week at Talladega, popped out of the roof actually, to get Brian Vickers in there and finish that race for him. But this week, he is going the whole five. He's going the distance. He's trying to get back into that top 20 and make the chase. Remember, he has to make that top 20 and rattle off a few wins if he hopes to qualify for the chase, and that really does start now. To Denny's right is Ricky Stenhouse, and now we're looking at the Chevrolet of Earnhardt Ganassi Racing. Jamie McMurray having a great year. These guys, all these cars line up by owner's points, so you can tell how good of a year they're doing when you look at where they are in the garage. And the fact that McMurray's here after the last few years he's had, you can tell this #1 team is having a good year. Needs some top fives, hopefully can compete for some wins. And here's Ricky Stenhouse's car. Again, likely just coming from inspection. You saw that rookie stripe on there, carrying the Zest colors this week. You can't miss that car at all. I don't know if you saw on Twitter, but he was handing out some race car shaped soap to some people they have for that Zest car. It's pretty good looking collectible, and I'm sure it smells good too. I didn't get to try one, but Ricky Stenhouse Jr. been running well. All right, and we're heading on. Scott Nichols, we're gonna fulfill your wish. Scott Nichols telling us in the chat room he wants to see Jeff Gordon's car. Jeff Gordon has an awesome track record here at Darlington. Of course, if you remember, kind of old school, he won the $1 million over Jeff Burton way back when. Good looking paint job too, this Chromax Pro. I remember the old DuPont car, coming up with that way back when. But Jeff Gordon trying to get some of that Darlington magic back here at the track, Too Tough to Tame. One of the best ever at this track, so never underestimate him and what he can bring, especially Team Hendrick. Jimmy Johnson, of course, winning last year. Another guy having a good year, Martin Truex Jr. This is a car, we need to see this guy in the win column. He comes close, it's always second. He's got some seconds, and he told us he's tired of finishing second, and it's no fun. It's no fun for him. You can see Kurt Busch walking through the garage to his car, the outlaw they call him. Again, he had a car land on him last week, so rough going for the end of that race, but best of luck to Kurt Busch this weekend. Taking a look at Jamie McMurray, checking out his ride. Obviously, teams prepare, as do the drivers. Never really know what it's like preparing to get in a car and go 190 miles an hour, especially at a track like Darlington where it's so tight and the corners, you run so close to the wall. Just the preparation and mindset you have to get into a car like that must be great. And these athletes, the physical and mental strength they have to do it, it's nuts. Again, moving on, we're in Martin Truex, MWR, Michael Waltrip Racing, having another good year. Here's the 51 car of Regan Smith. Again, I said they line up as owner's points. The fact that this car is so far up in this garage stall tells you that the 51 team is having a really good year with a bunch of different drivers. This weekend, it's Regan Smith, who again has won here before, taking some of that experience, putting it in the 51 car. The 51 car last year with Kurt Busch was pretty good here as well until the end. Not a bad guy to have in the seat, though. A former winner at Darlington, one of the toughest tracks in NASCAR. Can't go wrong there. All right. And Tigra, who was one of the first people in our chat room today, she wants to see Kevin Harvick in the 29 car because she's coming to see it tomorrow race, so she wants to get an early preview of it. Take a look. Good-looking car, running the Budweiser scheme this week. And heck, it's Garage Cam, I can say this. Kevin Harvick's my mother's favorite driver, so this is a great Mother's Day gift that I'm giving you, Mom. I hope you're watching. So best of luck to him. It'd be a great Mother's Day gift for at least my mom if he won this weekend. But a lot of Kevin Harvick fans. He was a favorite. He's always a favorite down in Talladega, Daytona, and both those races this year. It's been tough. He's been involved in early wrecks that weren't necessarily his fault, and those were two good races for him each time that he didn't get a lot of points at. Same thing with Casey Kane and a few other guys. So those plate tracks can be tough. Hopefully a little redemption down here in Darlington. You're looking at the number 16 Greg Biffle ride. That's normally a white car. This week it's black. You can see in McGuire's wax. I'm sure everyone's got a car out there. They love to keep looking good. That's running the paint scheme this weekend. Moving over to Mark Martin. The old man of the garage, but still going at it, still going at those high speeds. The Aaron's Dream Machine, number 55. Back in the car this week after Michael Waltrip drove the 55 to a top 5 finish last week in Talladega. So good to have Mark Martin back on the track. Old school guy at an old school track, can't go wrong with that. And look at this green machine. We've seen a Doublemint scheme before. I don't know if we've quite seen this one. Doublemint schemes I remember have been silver. This one is minty green. And hopefully, you know, Kyle Busch, he can wheel it around here. I believe he's got 1 win at Darlington. And a lot of, you know, Kyle Busch is one of those guys that has a lot of fans and a lot of people that boo him. So it's always fun to hear the mix because he certainly does move the needle a little bit. Looking in our chat room here, we got CWAT97 Carter. It's his birthday coming up. He wants a shout out. Hey, you deserve a shout out. We really appreciate you being here on Garage Cam with us, and you know, all the interaction we can get with the fans here on NASCAR.com. We cherish that stuff. So we're just trying to bring you guys whatever you want to see, give you a little behind the scenes look at the garage and things you may not get to see all the time or notice or anything we can help you out with. Just join the chat and we'll try to get it for you. You can see Mark Martin there again back at the track this week. He's done a few laps around. He's done a few laps around this place. Moving on, another bright car that's easy to see on the track. Paul Menard for RCR. Having a good year. He's another driver that, you know, is doing really well in points. You know, you may not have expected it, but he's doing really well in points. Needs to flirt with that win column in the top 5s more, because that's what, I mean, that's what will ultimately make you go from contender to real championship contender. Paul Menard running 8th in points, not bad at all. He's right next to another guy. If we can get that Petty Blue scheme. Looking at the number 43 right here, Eric Almirola was kind of outside that top 10. He was flirting with the top 10 until last week. All those Fords lined up right at the end and had really good finishes, and he vaulted himself into the top 10. He's now 7th in points. A really good run for Richard Petty Motorsports. It's good to see that. Always good to see that 43 at an old school track like this. And take a look right there. Casey Kane putting in his earplugs, and getting ready to go out and again do 180, 190 miles per hour. He's always fast around these tracks. And you know, I was here at the tire test a few months ago, and a track that's already fast, already tight, already one of the best in NASCAR got faster with this new Gen 6 car. And you know, Casey's one of those guys that likes those high-speed handling tracks, so it'll be interesting to see what he does out there. Moving on, I want to tell you a story about this guy this morning. This is Clint Boyer's car. His car did not look like this just a few hours ago. I was in here when they were putting this decal on. Evidently, they got a sponsor, a different sponsor this week, KFC I Ate the Bones campaign that's going on. They actually, it's a big sticker, and they were putting it on there, and I mean, just up until a few minutes ago, they were still decaling this car to, you know, get the message out for their new sponsor and everything, and it's certainly interesting because we weren't expecting this one. Oh, look who I found.
How's it going?
Good. I just want to let you know I made this sign.
Nice.
We are live on Garage Cam.
I like that.
And this is the lovely Miss Spurncup. How are you doing today?
Yes, I'm doing good. It is hot out here.
It is.
I saw you admiring Boyer's new paint scheme. I love it.
Yeah, what do you think about it? I mean,
it's
there's a
cool.
giant head on there.
I ate the bones. Yes, that's a pretty cool paint scheme.
You talk to a lot of fans. What are some of the things, I mean, they like to see and like you like to point out to them, you know, if it's their first time here in the garage?
You know what? Fans, they love seeing their drivers, but they really like seeing the crew chief and the team members. They like to see what goes into the car and what goes into putting the cars on the track. So anytime I've tweeted out, you know, what do you guys want to see in the garage, they always say, show us the behind the scenes more than just the driver. So.
Well, we'll try to do that. That's my first time doing garage.
Oh, really?
Cam.
I'm
yes.
sure you're doing a great job.
I
Fans,
hope so.
let him know what. I'm sure he's doing great.
Yeah, we hope so. We'll try to show him more of that
We'll
stuff.
let you get on your way.
I
okay?
appreciate
Enjoy.
the advice.
Yeah, good.
And you're looking at the number red 20, the Husky Toyota Camry of Matt Kenseth. This car has moved up a few garage stalls in the last few days, again, because it goes by owner's points. And a few days ago, Matt Kenseth, remember, they had that penalty. 50 points they were penalized, but on appeal, they had some of that overturned to just have it a 12-point penalty. So that moved him up positions in the point standings, which means you move to different garage stalls once that happens. Right before Garage Cam started, we were over talking to Matt Kenseth, obviously just a sigh of relief for that team because those were big penalties. Not only the 50-point penalty, but that win in Kansas wasn't going to count toward the chase for the Sprint Cup. And when you're on the bubble like that, that's a big, big deal because sometimes you may need that wild card or you may need those 3 extra bonus points. When it comes to the championship, you never know. Here's a guy here who's really popular. You may have heard of him, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Everyone in the chat room wants to hear about Dale Earnhardt Jr. We got here Bill Mulliken, 88 Lightning. I mean, everybody likes, big Junior fan, obviously. Dale Earnhardt and his legacy, Dale Jr. carrying it on as best as can be. Here at Darlington, good looking car, National Guard. We got Memorial Day coming up at Charlotte Motor Speedway. He's got National Guard on the car. Dale Jr. getting ready for practice. Team doing everything it can. On top of his car there was his helmet. He's always got a... Who we got here coming up? Carl Edwards. Carl Edwards getting ready to climb in. He's part of the Geek Squad this week. I'm sure if you've been to Best Buy, part of his sponsor, you know, they'll come help fix your computer. And Carol Hallett really wants to see the Geek Squad car and the driver behind it, Carl Edwards. So we're showing her the car, showing everybody. You know, a lot of those Geek Squad guys, I don't know if we pan over to the right here just a little bit, you can see one of the Geek Squad guys wearing his white shirt, short sleeves, and the black tie. As it says, we're here to help. So whenever you need help, let Carl Edwards get in. We'll go talk to him for a second. Hey, Carl. How you doing?
I'm doing well.
You got some extra Geek Squad guys here this week.
Yeah, we've got our Geek Squad double agents. They everybody used to laugh like, what are these guys doing? And then they started helping everybody with their electronic stuff and their issues. So everybody likes having them here. It's pretty cool.
You were here for the tire test. I was trying to explain to fans the faster speeds. What is that like as a driver? Faster speeds at Darlington.
It's a tough track already, and now that we're going faster, it just makes it even more knife edge. You drive down into turn 3, and if you get it right, everything's great, and if you don't, you smack the fence. So it's a tough racetrack, and you know, if you can make it through practice without hitting something, it's good. So that's what I'm hoping for. We ran really well here, so hopefully we have a good race. I really like this place.
All right, Carl, keep her clean, man.
See you guys.
Be well. Carl Edwards trying to keep the Darlington stripe off this pretty new car, the Geek Squad Ford this week. Again, he's got help if he does get that stripe. I don't know how well those guys in the ties right there will help, you know, with the any cosmetic damage or anything, but you never know. You never know. But again, Carl Edwards is one of those few drivers here for the tire test in this new Gen 6 car. Much faster speeds at a track that's already fast, already tight. And he told us, as you heard him say, if you make it in the corner fine, everything's good. And the moment you don't, you're getting a Darlington stripe. And no matter what your experience here at this track, I think every driver will attest, you're still vulnerable to getting a stripe like that. We're going to move one stall over. I think no matter who you're a fan of, I think you're going to like this paint scheme because it's called Emerald Green this week. On the 48, the Lowe's 48, as everyone knows, 5-time champion Jimmy Johnson. He's been trying some different schemes this year. We saw a bright yellow one. We saw white under the lights. Any of these white paint schemes under the lights always really pop off really well. And this has a new, a new flair to it with this emerald. And it's really good looking, I gotta say. I know Jimmy Johnson's not everyone's favorite driver, but you gotta appreciate a good paint scheme. And it's kind of got an old school feel to it. Let us know in the chat what you think about green race cars. There's always sort of a myth, the urban legend, whatever you call it. Some people are superstitious about a green race car, but we're seeing more and more of them. And obviously the 5-time champion, not afraid to put a little green on the car. He's always got that fluorescent number usually, so it served him well over the years during his career. So he's trying to get a Darlington win. And one of the people he may have to beat, Sprint Cup champion Brad Keselowski, defending champion. Tough end of the race last week. There was a minor controversy with where he thought he should be starting and where NASCAR said was the correct place for him to start. And in that final restart, he started on the on the inside, and that was not advantageous for the 2 crew. And ended up, I think he dropped to a 15th place finish after starting higher on that last restart. So Brad Keselowski and crew getting ready to fire it up for this practice session. Now we've taken you through the garage. What we're going to hear soon are engines. We're going to hear the engine start cranking soon because we're only a few minutes away from practice starting. You'll be able to watch that on television and see these speeds and see these cars. Some of these drivers, a lot of these drivers, for the first time getting on the track in this new Gen 6 car, experiencing those faster speeds that we were talking about. I think, let's see, a few months ago it was Edwards, Truex, Montoya, and Hamlin. Those were the 4 drivers that were able to get out here and do the tire test. So they kind of know what to expect already. And it's going to be a surprise, I think, for some of these other drivers. So we're going through them now. You can see all the you can see all the cars are nosed out. I'm just taking a look at the chat room here. Sorry for the little pause there, but Kat wants a shout out because she's at work, and you know we really appreciate anyone watching at work right now because it's Friday, it's a full NASCAR day, so why not take a little break and watch some NASCAR with us as much as you can. We really appreciate you guys being on here with our live garage cam because it's fun. We get to give you a little behind the scenes knowledge, whatever we can do. However we can open up the sport to all the fans and show you what's going on. It's something we all enjoy doing. So here we are. Where are we taking another look? Again, this is Kurt Busch, the outlaw. He did a few laps in an Indy car the other day. I mean, talk about high speeds. I mean, all these drivers know what it's like to drive fast, but hopping in an Indy car, I don't exactly know how fast he was able to go, but those cars, obviously, at Indianapolis Motor Speedway are topping well over the 210-mile-an-hour mark. So Kurt Busch trying to change it up a little bit. He was also advocating for hopefully sometime in the future, drivers can start doing the double on Memorial Day, 1,100 miles, the Indianapolis 500 and the Coca-Cola 600. I think you just heard it, Marcus Ambrose's car. If you heard it on the camera, that was him firing the engine up. They're getting ready to fire up those engines, head out onto Darlington Raceway. As we walk over here, they should be driving by us fairly soon. There. Just walking over, and here's the first one out, Brad Keselowski. No matter what track you're at, it seems like he's always the first one out. He wants to send a statement that he's here to defend, and he wants to be that champion again. So he's the first one on the racetrack. Jimmy Johnson, Carl Edwards, Dale Jr. driving by, coming out in order, out of the garage stalls. Matt Kenseth, again, moved up a little bit because his penalty was rescinded. Clint Boyer in that boneless KFC car, that'll be one to watch for this weekend. Casey Kane, Eric Almirola, Paul Menard, can't miss that car. Rowdy Busch in the Doublemint car. First practice session of the day for these Cup guys. Tune in all weekend. We really appreciate you coming on to NASCAR.com and hopping on Garage Cam with us. We want to open up the access to all the fans as much as possible. So join us every week for Garage Cam, especially if you happen to be at work. Why not? Tune in for a little bit. We'll do all we can to show you some of the behind-the-scenes aspects of this great sport. Rowdy Busch, Marcus Ambrose. That's it for that side of the garage. If you go over here, our photographer doing a great job today, running over to catch smoke at the front of that other line. Thanks to everyone in the chat room for joining us today. Flip on over. Thank you guys for bearing with us. My first time doing Garage Cam, really appreciate it. Filling in for Matt Dillner. Matt, we're all thinking about you. We want you to come back real soon and and show us how to do a good job at this garage cam. But until then, we'll keep it locked down for you. Enjoy the race weekend, everybody.